These people were brought to our country to vote, and they vote illegally. And amazing that the Republicans aren't tougher on it. The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. And we have states that are.
Republicans ought to nationalize the voting, says the president of the United States publicly in an interview. That is terrifying. Now, first off, welcome everybody back to the show. I hope you're doing well. Thank you all for being here, whether it be live or you're watching this in a segment or listen to the podcast. Good stuff ahead, or at least interesting stuff. I don't know if good, but quite the show. But second of all, imagine, I know this is it almost has become a lazy go-to, but it's so applicable. Imagine if Obama or Biden ever said such a thing. You know, some of these red states, the elections just aren't, I don't think they're going right. Maybe the federal government should take over running their elections, and then we definitely correct course. Now, the MAGA argument will be, he's just saying we got to prevent fraud or whatever, but we know the lies surrounding that. In reality, you have maybe the one U.S. president ever who is on the record trying to steal a free and fair election in 2020. Failed, but tried. Saying, I want to take over elections. Because a really important part of our electoral system is that each state runs the election, which is a pretty genius, it has problems, but a genius structure, because then how could a national figure steal a national election if you'd have to go do it separately in each individual important state as opposed to it being a nationalized electoral system? And that is like constitutionally so crucial. And he's openly saying, and he almost said it the more plausible deniability way, the more plausibly deniable way, which was, they need to, I forget how he worded it, but something that was a little softer. And then he goes, wait, let me clarify what I'm saying. We should nationalize the elections. Open. And so then, of course, you have someone like Mike Johnson, who I think he was a constitutional lawyer, knows this is not constitutional, knows that they would never accept this with a Democrat. And he tries to whitewash it. Here's Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. Just the quickest break from the video to request that you click the subscribe button. As you know, that's an important way to boost the message that we deliver to a larger audience, which is very important. Helps us out, but it's completely free on your end. Just by clicking that subscribe button, you help support our work.
Mr. Speaker,
we've had real problems with that.
The president had called yesterday for a takeover of federal elections, to nationalize in some states. Is that something that you think you should do, that Republicans should do, take over elections?
The president is expressing his frustration about the problems we have in some of these blue states where election integrity is not always guaranteed. So we have to figure out solutions to that problem, and that's what I think the Save America
Take
Act
over?
will do. So we're working on it.
Thank you, guys.
No.
Now, this is it's almost like if it weren't so serious, it'd be a fun game of how can you reword what Trump really said to make it sound less outrageous. So Trump goes, what I'm saying is we should nationalize the elections. The federal government should run you know what, Mike? Let's listen one more time to that little portion.
The voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. And we have states.
So we should go to specific states that we don't like the election outcomes, and then we lie about why we don't like them and say it's because of voter fraud, even if we can't demonstrate that with evidence. And we should go in and take over. So Mike Johnson then takes that and goes, no. You're such a goofy goober. That's not what he said. What he said was he's concerned about election integrity, and that we just want to encourage states to have the most election integrity that they possibly can, which is not what he said, obviously. And some of Trump's defenders say things a little bit more bluntly. This is really what Trump's imagining.
You're damn right. We're going to have ICE surround the polls come November. We're not going to sit here and allow you to steal the country again. And you can whine and cry and throw your toys out of the pram all you want, but we will never again allow an election to be stolen. You're damn.
And the only way in their mind they can prevent a mythical, fictional stealing of an election is to steal it themselves. That's what's being articulated here. Because, again, what would the right-wing reaction be to my commentary? They would say, no, he's not saying ICE is there to intimidate people. He's not saying masked men not identifying themselves with firearms who we've already seen kill people in the streets and violate people's rights, including American citizens. He's not saying they're going to do like what Russia does, where they're like, we had a free and fair election, and then you look at the videos and people are being dragged out of voting booths for voting the wrong way by masked men. No, it's not an intimidation tactic. It's just to identify undocumented immigrants who are trying to vote. Hey, that's what the election staff is for. Hey, we already have prevention methods in place for that. And again, think about the logic there when they fearmonger about undocumented immigrants trying to fraudulently vote. Think about the logic of being an undocumented immigrant. You already know, especially in our current moment, you're at a very high risk, if you're identified at all, of being deported, even if you don't have a criminal record. You're being quite literally tracked down by the federal government already. You've done so much to try to stay here under the radar and not be deported, but for some reason you're going to go so that one vote can be cast and risk all of that and give someone either your identity or a fraudulent identity at risk of being caught and then deported. And then you did commit a crime, and then there'd be even more justification to deport you. Like, what undocumented immigrant would do that? And when they run the numbers on this, it's essentially zero. Now, in a country this size, you're always going to have edge cases of people doing weird things. But essentially, statistically, you could round down to zero instances of what they're talking about. So really, the masked men has nothing to do with election integrity. It would be election intimidation. It would be, we've already seen what they'll do if you don't exactly, even when you are following their orders, or you rub them the wrong way, or you look a little bit too racial, close to some race, you look like you could be. What U.S. citizen voter of a certain identity who already has seen their neighbors be harassed, who are citizens, just for being that identity, and looking like they should be checked? Imagine the number of people who would go, I don't want to subject myself to that. I could show up in line and they think I look wrong, and they grab me and throw me into a van and detain me for 2 days. Of course that's going to suppress the vote. Of course. Then you have Mike Johnson being asked more about this and similarly exhibiting cowardice.
I don't think we'll have to get rid of the filibuster to get these things done, and that's certainly our hope. Yes, ma'am.
Just to be clear, you're going to attach the SAVE Act to future DHS funding?
I'm not going to tell you in advance how those negotiations will go. There's a lot of discussions to be held, but I will tell you what I'm saying to you is that House Republicans have already passed the SAVE Act twice. We did it in the last Congress, did it in this Congress. We will continue to try to advance that because we believe that is critically important to the American people and to our election system.
Just a quick follow-up on elections. The president says that he wants Republicans to nationalize elections. Do you agree with him? And do you have confidence in how elections are conducted right now, heading into the midterm?
We have thoughtful debate about our election system every election cycle and sometimes in between. We know it's in our system. The states have been in charge of administering their elections. What you're hearing from the president is his frustration about the lack of some of the blue states, frankly, of enforcing these things and making sure that they are free and fair elections. We need constant improvement on that front. I don't know what the ultimate solution is going to be.
Okay, guys, watch. You think I'm bored, Luke. I get it. Listen to what he's about to say, okay? Just really listen, because he gives the whole game away. in a little bit.
I'm not going to get ahead of the negotiations here, but I think that is something that's going to be a continuing theme here. It's something that we'll continue to push, and we hope the governors will insist upon that same thing as well. In some of the states, like in California, for example, I mean, they hold the elections open for weeks after Election Day. That's just one thing that bothers so many people. We had 3 House Republican candidates who were ahead on Election Day in the last election cycle, and every time a new tranche of ballots came in, they just magically whittled away until their leads were lost. And no series of ballots that were counted after Election Day were our candidates ahead on any of those counts. It looks on its face to be fraudulent.
So he's talking about, oh wait, watch, this is the part. But he's talking about something, these different, based on which votes from where are coming in, when they're being counted, a very normal phenomenon that sometimes someone, because their voters are more likely to vote early or same day or mail in, that depending on which votes get counted when, sometimes someone will look like they're ahead, but then more votes are counted and then they lose the election. And as many times as that was used in a Trump election to justify election conspiracies, you had all the different investigations they ever wanted, even from right-wing groups, and it was demonstrated to be without merit. But watch, even he kind of admits that right here.
Looks on its face to be fraudulent. Can I prove that? No, because it happens.
No. Okay, well then shut up. Okay, well then shut up. Can I prove that? No. Well then what am I listening to you for? Goodness gracious. Now, whenever he tries to pass off what Trump said as way more rational than what it was, we should nationalize elections. He's like, no. He's just saying something about election integrity. Aaron Blake responded saying, that gives similar energy to this headline in November of 2020, which is from Mick Mulvaney writing an op-ed saying, if he loses, Trump will concede gracefully. Similar energy. I know Trump's saying he won't. I know Trump's acting as if he won't. But trust me, he'll concede. And we saw what happened after that. No one, no matter how much you like Trump, can say he conceded gracefully. You know why? Because he didn't concede at all. Not to mention all the violence that happened and all the different illegal schemes. So pretty shameful stuff there.